American Pickers Frank Fritz filed will in court 1 year before death, and his plans for $6 million fortune were approved. On October 23, 2023, Frank's lawyer filed a will prior to death to safekeep the document. The U.S. Sun can exclusively reveal a certificate was issued for approval of the will on October 18, 2024, weeks after Frank's death. Midwestone, who is Frank's conservator, is the executor of the will. The will and all filings are sealed. Frank is estimated to have a net worth of $6 million. Frank suffered the stroke at his Iowa farmhouse in July 2022. The U.S. Sun broke in August 2022 that loved ones filed a conservatorship and guardianship on behalf of Frank. His friend Chris Davis is the guardian, while Midwestone Bank is the conservator. Frank was also unable to make, communicate, or carry out important decisions concerning his own financial affairs. An exhibit was filed in the court papers from a doctor, claiming Frank does not have decisional capacity. The legal papers continued, decisions must be made for Mr. Fritz's care and placement while he continues to recover and receive treatment for his injuries. Appointment of a guardian and conservator is necessary to avoid immediate harm to him. The conservatorship papers also revealed plans for his Savannah, Illinois store Frank Fritz finds. The initial plan filed by Midwestone Bank read, Mr. Fritz is a well-known collector and has numerous outbuildings full of valuable collections. The conservator has not yet inventoried those items, but plans to leave them largely as they are now, with the exception of stocking Mr. Fritz's antique store in Savannah, IL as needed. Conservator is hopeful Frank will be able to participate in selection and pricing of items as he did previously. The documents revealed Frank's annual income of $60,000 from investments, per his 2021 tax return. Frank was unemployed at the time of his stroke and had no debt listed. Frank's longtime friend, Jerry Gendreau, previously told the U.S. Sun that they will have an auction for his antiques. That's what I would do because of his fan base. I think he'll do really, really well with an auction. In 2021, the U.S. Sun photographed Frank at his $155,000 Iowa farmhouse in Davenport, Iowa. In one of Frank's outhouses on the property, he showed off rows of motorcycles from his collection. Jerry previously told the U.S. Sun some of the bikes will be displayed at the store, which is located in the back room of his bar, Hobdogs. Jerry told the U.S. Sun in October, "We have been an antique store for 35 years. We'll probably continue to be that. We may display motorcycles and choppers that represent Frank. Right now it's set up as an 1880s general store. Maybe there'll be bikes on a rack all the way down the center." Frank was a fan favorite on the show from 2010 to 2020. He left American Pickers in 2020 to undergo back surgery. He never returned and was officially let go in 2021. Mike's brother Robbie replaced Frank on the show, while John Jersey John Saleh later became a full-time cast member. Frank revealed his feud with co-star Mike during an interview with the U.S. Sun in 2021. Mike, 60, and Frank made up during his health issues when they reunited over Memorial Day weekend of 2023. Mike and loved ones were by his side in hospice when he passed. Jerry previously gave insight into Frank's health struggles in the months before his passing. He felt really, really bad, he told the U.S. Sun. You would go to see him in the nursing home, and one half of his body was completely done. He would lift his arm up, and it would just drop. That's got to be tough to be totally bedridden. Jerry said Frank grew frustrated because he couldn't come out and say what he wanted to say, though some days were much, much better than others. I've seen this when people get tired. They get tired. "I think if you don't have the will to live, you won't," Jerry said. I think Frank could have lived a lot longer if the will to live would have been there. In a surprising revelation, a court filing has shed light on Frank Fritz's financial foresight, revealing he meticulously prepared for his legacy long before he faced severe health issues. The beloved American Pickers star, known for his down-to-earth personality and vast knowledge of antiques, took a step to protect his assets just a year before his death by filing a will that outlined the distribution of his $6 million fortune. The public might remember Fritz for his years traveling the backroads of America with co-star Mike Wolfe, uncovering hidden treasures. But these documents reveal a side of Fritz many weren't aware of, one who was deeply thoughtful about his future and how his hard-earned money would serve those he loved. Frank's estate plan was far from the typical celebrity will, full of charitable donations or extravagant legacy requests. Instead, it spoke to his roots and loyalty to those close to him, focusing on the people and places that had been a part of his life even before he became a household name. While the court's recent approval of his will formalizes his wishes, it's worth exploring the careful thought and planning that went into his decisions. The first aspect of Frank's will that caught attention was his choice to leave a significant portion of his fortune to his small circle of family and friends. Fritz, who always maintained a more private life than many stars, especially following his departure from American Pickers had close relationships that extended beyond what fans saw on screen. His modest Iowa home, his cherished car collection, and his incredible antique finds were all chosen to go to those he knew would treasure them as much as he did. Those in his inner circle described the gesture as classic Frank, focusing on preserving memories rather than chasing fame. One of the standout beneficiaries was his lifelong friend and business partner, Ravi, who worked with Fritz in his antique dealings off-camera and shared his passion for vintage items. Ravi has been credited for helping Fritz secure his early finds, even before American Pickers became a national phenomenon. In his will, Frank designated Ravi not only as the executor of his estate, but as the recipient of many of his most prized items. These included a mint-condition Harley-Davidson and several antique motorcycles Fritz collected over the years, including some from the 1940s, which he often spoke about with immense pride. Ravi, humbled by the gesture, noted that Frank's foresight in organizing his estate was a testament to his character and how much he valued loyalty. Interestingly, Fritz also set aside a portion of his estate for causes and organizations in his home state of Iowa. As someone who frequently talked about his roots and Midwest pride, it was only fitting that he wanted his hometown to benefit from his success. Specifically, he chose to donate to a local museum dedicated to preserving Iowa's rural history, a cause that aligned perfectly with his life's work of finding and honoring America's past. Fritz believed that rural America's history was essential to preserve, as it was increasingly overshadowed by urban growth and modernization. This donation, intended to fund exhibits featuring antiques and Americana from the Midwest, captures his lifelong dedication to the objects and stories he loved. Frank often believed in the magic of objects, the stories they held, and the generations they passed through. And he wanted others to experience that magic long after he was gone. Another heartfelt detail of Frank's estate was his decision to leave portions of his fortune to two close relatives who'd played important roles in his life, his niece and nephew, with whom he shared a close bond. In keeping with his practical nature, Frank's estate not only included cash funds for their futures, but also a selection of vintage items he knew they'd treasure. Many of these items had been part of Frank's personal life for decades, including some furniture pieces he restored himself and an assortment of rare coins he'd collected over the years. Frakes will also emphasized his desire to keep his beloved American pickers' treasures in the hands of those who would value them most, either for their historical significance or their sentimental value. Knowing that his time on American Pickers would be one of the most memorable parts of his life for fans, he made it clear that certain iconic finds from the show, items that fans recognized and loved, should remain on display, either through private collections or public exhibits. He left instructions for Robbie and others involved in his estate to identify pieces with particular significance, hoping these artifacts might become part of a traveling exhibit someday, bringing pieces of America's past to fans across the country.